joined by our guest here today. I'd just like you to introduce yourself and what your current creative occupations are.
My name is Michael Cooke and I am an actor and a musician.
That's fantastic, Michael. You've recently released your album Doing Alright, and I know it'd been a long process assembling the album. Some of the tracks included I heard around 3 years prior to the actual album releasing. What emotions do you feel being able to unveil this to people now?
Almost relief at times with it, because I think when you're being creative, you do something, then you want to get it out there so that you can move on to something else. And I think that's the thing, the whole point of being creative is you're constantly creating stuff and you're constantly moving forward with it. So there was a bit of relief, and I was really excited to see how people responded to it.
See, in terms of the album itself, do you feel as if it was a challenge to get it to be consistently strong over that in a number of years?
Joe, I heard a saying of a producer guy that I was working with, and he says, like, you've got your whole life to write your first album, and then you've got 6 months to write your second album. And I get it now, because I think when you start writing songs, you're in a similar place when you're writing it. Like, I didn't think there was a coincidence to, like, say you write a lyric down and then 3 weeks later you write another lyric down, and then 4 months later you've wrote the rest of the song, and you realise that all the lyrics that you wrote over those 4 months had all matched in together. I think it's when you're in a certain period of your life, I think that's when things sort of match in, and I think that's what works for it. I think it's important that you're very aware when you do write a song that maybe doesn't completely match in, but then again, on the other hand, it's people don't want to listen to, let's say an album's 8 tracks or 10 tracks, people don't want to listen to the same song 10 times. You do have to have a wee bit of variation in it.
No, I'd agree with you on that. And see, in terms of the album itself, when the first track that you'd written to the last, do you feel as if that your perspective on life has changed and the song's meanings?
But I don't really write with a clear intention of what this song's going to mean. I think, like, it's important to go with it and see what it is. I think it's really, really hard to write intentionally. I think at times if you do write intentionally, it can come across as a bit forced. I think when you write a song, at the end of it, you look at it and I think you need to try and figure out what the meaning was for you in that sort of what headspace you were in when you were doing that, because I find that I write quite subconsciously. Mm-hmm. So after I wrote a song, I sort of figured out, I wonder what that meant, like. And I think when you're writing sort of universal truths and that and things, that's what people relate to, whether it's love or a career or family or negatives or positives. It's like there's universal truths that people can relate to, and I think that's the way that I tend to try and write, and it tends to happen quite subconsciously for me. So it was all right. It was another thing on it was I didn't really write the songs that far apart. It was over a couple of years I wrote like most of those songs. In fact, I think all of them. I think that was actually a longer process when you build up the courage to go, wait a minute, I'm going to release an album. I'm going to get these recorded. So the logistics of actually recording an album, organising a studio, organising session musicians, organising making music videos, organising PR, doing all that sort of stuff. I found that was actually a longer process than writing the songs, because I find the best songs that I've wrote are the ones that, and I keep on hearing it's a common theme in guys who are writing songs consistently, is the best ones you write them in a really short period of time. It comes in a flash and it's gone. So you could write that song in 15 minutes, but it takes you 3 months to get it recorded and released and do the right PR and do all that stuff for it. So I found that side of it was actually a longer process.
No, I completely agree with you on that. And as well, with a song that you say can come out from nowhere, they tend to stick with you the longest.
I know.
So I heard Lose My Mind for Nothing some time ago, and I absolutely loved it. I feel particularly in the current climate we're in as well, it's become more relatable, and it really focuses on how self-aware you are as a person. Do you feel that self-awareness has allowed you to have more creative sparks?
Yeah, I think so. See, because I did acting before I did music. I remember somebody asking me, like, how do you cry on stage? And the honest answer is I don't know. But what I don't do is question it. I don't question it. If I'm going to get a creative spark and something's going to come up and I'm going to be able to write something or I'm going to be able to do something, I don't overthink it. I try and not overthink it. I just sort of come to that point with myself where I go, right, I can do that. Don't question it. Put yourself in a similar environment when you want to try and come up with something or you want to mess about and see if there's anything there. Because I think people see you write 20 songs or something. I think people think you're writing good songs all the time. I tend to, like, you do get bad ideas, and you do get bad songs that you write, but I tend to go through the process of, you know what, I'm going to write that bad song. I'm not going to hold on to it. I'll write the bad song and get it out of my system, because then once you do it, you let it go and that's it. It's gone, and then you can move on and do something else.
See, in terms of the writing itself, see if like you write half a song, right, and the lyrics are quite up to your standard, do you find it challenging to follow through and complete it the way through?
It can be at times. But what I tend to do is I'll go with the song, I'll see how far I get with it. When I feel that I'm trying to force it, it does it and it's not working, I'll stop. But I found that you've wrote a bad song, but there's good lyrics in it. Is that when you're coming up with something else, then those lyrics tend to match in with the next song that you're writing. It's like I found that. In fact, I was right. The first song that I ever wrote was so flawed, like structurally. I mean, and it was so flawed. But I found that there was a good element in it. There was something in it that there was a hook. There was a hook there. And then I found a few months later I wrote something else using the backbone of that song, because I became more knowledgeable about the process of how structurally I was writing songs, whether you're going verse, chorus, verse, and then you sort of expand, and once your knowledge expands a wee bit, I think then you're able to do sort of different things with it. I do find that writing songs when you're writing part of a song and then moving on to writing another part of a song a few weeks later, a few months later, I do find that more challenging.
Would you say that most of your songwriting processes, it's done quite quickly?
Yeah, very quickly, because I think when that sort of rush of creativity comes to you,
you don't want to let it go.
You don't want to let it go. You want to try and get it all out in the one. What I find is you're never left with 100% of it. It's never been 10 minutes and that's the song. I get it, like when people say that, but for me anyway, it's you've got 90% of it. You've got 90% of it. It's like, right, now I've got a song there. I've got a song. It's good. It's catchy, and it's what I wanted to do. Then the other 10% sort of say rephrasing things, or maybe some like one line here or there, but you've got the guts of the song down, and I find that's the point you get to. That's the best sort of stuff that I find that I've done.
No, I'd agree with you on that. What I really admire about you as well, Michael, is how multidimensional you are as a person. Creatively, you've been a stage, television and film actor in some big roles. What's been your favourite experiences as an actor, and does your passion with music and film go hand in hand?
Well, I love film. I do love doing film, but I'd say the best experiences I've had so far is stage, because I find that for a young actor, the stage is more open and probably where you learn your craft of playing sort of bigger parts and sort of meatier roles as in the theatre, because the age restriction and that's a wee bit different. You get away with a wee bit more on stage, and I'd say the best experiences I've had have been on stage. Like I was lucky enough to be able to have a residency in Milan doing a Shakespeare play, playing such a high profile. I was playing Ophidius in the play Coriolanus, and I would never get that role on TV. To put it in a comparison, it's like Gerard Butler, who's at least 20 years older than me, played that part in the film with Ralph Fiennes. So getting the opportunity to play a role of that stature in theatre, I think that's the thing that is really helping me grow as an actor, is doing those types of roles. The film stuff's amazing, because I think getting that experience of it's almost like recording. It's like when you're recording a song, you need to get the song. You want the song to be perfect when you're recording it. Stuff that maybe you wouldn't be fussed about if you're performing it live, but when you're doing that sort of heightened recording, like that heightened thing that's this is the perfect, so it's a way up here. So say that song sounds better when you hit that note there. It's like I remember listening to Young Americans by David Bowie. Now it's one of my favourite songs, but there's a bit at the end of the song where it goes really high.
Mm-hmm.
But then I heard him doing it live, and he didn't go high at that bit at the end of the song when he did it live. And that sort of, wait a minute, it's different in recording because you can stop and you can cut in and do that and get it right there, and you can redo it until it's perfect. So it's amazing in film when you get that opportunity for it to be perfect, because you come off the stage and in theatre and you're like that at times. Oh, I wish I did this or I wish I did that. But the rush of performing live is unbelievable.
And it must be incredibly demanding being a stage actor as well.
It is, because you don't get a second chance at it. What the audience sees is what the audience get, and if you don't perform, people feel as though they've lost out on their ticket money, do you know what I mean? Plus, you're letting the rest of the cast down as well, because you've got everybody else there is wanting this to be the greatest show ever. They really want to have the opportunity to really show off what they can do. And if you get one weak link in an ensemble piece, it's like, it can ruin the whole show.
And I think that's something you really, really need to be passionate about, because see, if for the outside, if you tried to attempt that and you didn't have the same enthusiasm, it would be incredibly difficult, you know?
Well, do you know, I've always struggled with listening to guys who say, oh, I get stage fright. I'm like, well, why are you a stage actor?
Mm-hmm.
No, you're choosing to do this. You choose to do this. It's okay to be nervous. Everybody gets nervous. And I would struggle to find anybody that, and even when people tell me, oh, I don't get nervous, I'm not convinced, because I think it comes down to how you perceive nerves. I think it comes down to how you perceive nerves. Do you perceive nerves as a negative, or just as an emotion you feel from when you're doing something that you find really meaningful and you want to get it right?
No, I completely agree with you on that.
So you've got to want to do it.
Aye, so Michael, with lockdown still a part of our lives, how has this affected your current plans, and did it stiff you creatively, or did it give you more of a hunger to keep being creative?
Well, something I discovered with music and acting was I've got more control over music than I do with acting. So, to be honest, it just gave me an opportunity to get an album out. It's like when you say you wrote a song 3 years ago and then you release an album this year with that song on it, it's when you're focused and it's right, this is the only thing I can do because I've got control over it. It's just given me an opportunity to focus on music, because I'm in control of writing songs, I'm in control of recording songs, I'm in control of releasing songs. So it's given me an opportunity.
And there's not as much pressure as well, because it's under your control, all the rules and regulations.
Aye.
It's a different kind of pressure.
It's a different kind of pressure. You can't escape in music, because it is all down to you. Because it's your music, it's your ideas, it's your creative input that's going out there. You do a film that's bad, I was a bad director. It was just a bad script and I needed the role. I really wanted to do the role, and that's the only thing that interested me in that film. You get that an awful lot with acting. It's like people are interested in growing as an actor, and you can use something that's like, nobody wants to play third guard from the left. Everybody wants to play the main guy. But you don't get that same opportunity in acting as you do in music, of being the main guy. So if you want to be a main guy, you just step up and say, I want to do this, and put myself out there, and accept that not everybody is going to like what you do.
It's all about your perspective as well, innit, and how you perceive music to other people, how you perceive your music.
Well, there's folk that hate rock music, there's folk that hate guitar music, there's folk that hate pop music, but there's also folk that love it. I sort of keep faith in the idea that, like, if I write something and I go, I like that song, I'm not that unique that other people aren't going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, there's got to be at least one person out there who's going to like it as well. And that's what I sort of try and hope for.
And definitely, I think, see, when you're writing something that connects with you, I think there's always something in the back of your mind that you're thinking, this will relate to someone somewhere.
Yeah, and I never write a song thinking I want to write this so that other people like it.
Mm-hmm.
I write it because I want to be creative, and there's something inside me that I want to try and that I want to get out. It's almost like, the only way I can sort of describe it, it's like an itch when it's like picking up a guitar at 2 a.m. because I've got an idea for something. It's like I need to get it out and see if this works. It's like I'm doing that, trying to get that creative side out and try and scratch that sort of itch.
And it's weird. It's just like it's a total light bulb moment when you get these creative ideas,
Oh, I know.
because they feel relentless. Like you have to put this down. You have to write it. You have to get it out of your system. You know.
It's like you come up with an idea, and then it's like you probably know yourself. It's that you've wrote a line in something, and then you hear it and you go, "How did I come up with that? Like, I don't know how I came up with that line. Of everything that I could have wrote there, I don't know how that happened, but it happened. It's just you just go with it and hope that other people can relate to it as well."
No, definitely. But I think, as you said, the main thing is that it makes sense to you first
Aye.
and foremost. You know.
And if it makes sense to you, it will make sense to at least somebody else out there. So there'll be somebody out there that will relate to it, because we're not that unique that we're the only person that's into it. Like, if you write a bad song and it's bad and nobody likes it, and it's, you know, I think I honestly believe that you know deep down if it isn't good. I think you know deep down that it isn't good, and it isn't a case of, I know this is bad, but hopefully it's good to somebody else. It's like deep down you've got to know that it's not good.
Do you know something that I find quite interesting as well, though? Has there been times, there probably has been times in your life where you've wrote a song that you really didn't like, but somebody actually really likes it, and it's weird trying to put through their thought process, because that's not your favourite song, but it's theirs, and it's trying to understand that as well.
No, I agree with you, and I think, do you know what I put that down to? I think it's that, see if you're a musician and you do something and you've got a wee bit more experience and stuff, it's the main thing is that it needs to sound melodic. It needs to be melodic. It needs to sound good to someone's ears, because first and foremost it needs to be entertaining to a certain degree. So if it's entertaining and maybe it's not your most fulfilling song that you've wrote, if you've got that sort of melodic structure down, it's produced well, it's going to sound good. It isn't that it sounds bad, it just doesn't do anything for you. It just isn't bad. I think there's a difference between something being bad and it not being your thing. Because there's a standard of things. It's like, I'm not into jazz, but I respect jazz and I understand these guys are very, very good at what they're doing. They're very, very good at it, but it's not my taste in music.
No.
So there's an efficiency. They're really good. They're really efficient at what they do.
No, definitely. So what's next for you now then, Michael? What's your current plans for music?
I've started recording a second album.
When can we expect to hear the first glimpses of that?
Well, I'm planning on releasing the album around about April, if everything goes to plan. I've already recorded 2 tracks from it. I'll work on a music video, and then I think I'll put out a couple of singles and see how people respond to that, and then just take it from there. It's like I don't think anybody really knows 100% how things are going to go, or how you've just got to go with it and trust that it's going to turn out all right. So.
And definitely, and as long as, again, you just keeping the creative juices flowing, that's all that matters really, innit? Because especially with the times we're in right now, we need that.
Well, just take control of what you've got, and like right now, acting stuff is there's very, very little going. Everything really depends on where you stay. And there's like COVID restrictions and stuff, and even with Brexit and stuff, it's like there's huge restrictions on what you can and cannot do. So I find just doing music, I'm in control of that. So just to keep being creative.
Well, it's been fantastic having you on, Michael. Where can we find you online?
You can find me at Michael Cooke Music on Facebook, and Michael_Cooke_official on Instagram, and Michael Cooke 89 on Twitter.
That's fantastic, Michael. Thanks so much.
Cheers, thanks for having me.